ladies and gents. So this is gonna be a very quick demo on how to use the Playwright automation framework for describing and testing the SOAP API requests. Why not REST or why not GraphQL? You know, first of all, because personally I have worked with those and those are pretty mainstream and, you know, let's say relatively new. Whereas there's still a lot of projects that still use the SOAP, probably not the architecture, but I guess like the data transfer method. And therefore, these might be useful if you are implementing or willing to implement the Playwright on your or for your project, which still uses the SOAP API, let's say data transfer style. So basically, this test is gonna send two numbers via the endpoint, the SOAP API endpoint, and that API endpoint is going to return the sum of those numbers, which is like basically the addition operation in the calculator. So simple as hell, right? But of course we got a couple of tricks out there. So let me first run this test and then I'll describe the setup. So we got two numbers which are like each time they are randomly generated. So we got 88 and 79. Then we got the parsed XML response because SOAP can only work with XML. And we gotta retrieve the add result, which is the sum of these two numbers or of these two variables, right? And we check that the result, which is this value, it basically like equals, or it is equal to the sum of those two numbers from the test data. And let me run it just one more time so that you can see these values are randomly generated each time. Here we got a new pair of values, which in addition equals to this value, to this sum, and of course the assertion passes as well. So let's go to our config, to the main config. So basically what I've done here is I've just added this separate project, which is going to be the APIs, because probably we're going to have some future demos. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to, try and forecast that or, anticipate it somehow. So we are going to call it the APIs and place it in our tests folder. And basically that's it for the base configuration. So we do not touch anything else. If you want to see, I'll take a look at how this stuff is set up. Go watch that long ass video where I describe how I set up this so-called monorepository for the WebDriver IO framework and Playwright framework. So the next file is SOAP API, basically test data, where we declare the addition data constant, and here we have our random numbers between 1 and 100. So we export that and we later import that in our spec. Probably this is the most interesting part here, because this is the module which has the class and the interface for our SOAP example request. So at first we got our imports, right? So we got the Playwright test, we got the request logger, which is like the parent class, which we extend off, and then we got our XML parser from the fast XML parser npm module, which we're gonna use later in our request abstract description. So then we got the interface, of course, which consists of those two numbers, A and B, and we explicitly set the types as we're using the TypeScript. And of course, we got our class. So we're gonna have a couple of environmental variables, and then we are going to actually describe the method. And the method is going to consist of body. So at first we're going to declare the body and pass all those like variables where needed. But given that, this specific body and, the SOAP structure, the SOAP request body structure is pretty damn specific for each request, even more specific than with the REST API, then, in comparison to the REST API and of course the GQL. So here every symbol really matters. And I mean like really every symbol matters. So this is where you're gonna need to, to dig and, compare with your existing or non-existent, schema documentation for this API. So what we have here, we got the data which accepts this interface that we declared a bit earlier on, and it's gonna return us like a promise, which is gonna be a number. So this body goes like this, specifically and strictly like this. Even I was missing a slash, like the trailing slash out here, and I didn't understand why my test kept on failing. So it kept on failing, but when I added this symbol, everything went smooth. So, things happen. That's why it is essential right here with the SOAP. Also because it doesn't throw the errors in a in a familiar way, let's say in comparison to REST or GQL2. So the most comfortable is the REST architecture, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, and we got our two integers within this body, which we're passing from this interface, like data A, data B. Then we got the URL. We take the base URL from the .env file, and we also concatenate it with this slug, which is the calculator ASMX. Then we got a couple of headers. So the constant header, which is gonna be which is a must for all of the SOAP requests, is the content type, which would always be equal to text/XML, and probably in most cases, like 99.9% of the cases, the char set UDF8 is gonna also be set. And we got the SOAP action. This is specifically for this request. So we got the action-based URL. Let me show you. So we got the SOAP-based URL right here and the action-based URL right here. So this is gonna be needed, only for these requests, for requests like these. So in case of addition, it's gonna be /add. In case of subtraction and other operations, of course, we're gonna use other, trailing slugs. Yeah, basically, the next part or the next piece is where we get the response. So we send the post request. This is the post request, yeah, we pass the URL, and we pass the headers object, and we pass the body object, right? Well, not the object. I mean the XML. So it's kind of stringified right here. And then we expect the response status to be 200, and we store the response text. So we modify, or we transform that to the text, the response, and we store this as raw XML, because then we declare the XML parser instance from this fast XML parser npm module, and we are gonna use that parser to parse the raw XML, and we're gonna store these, the parsed value in the constant called parsed. So the next step, we're gonna log that, as you could have seen in our console logs a bit earlier on, and we're gonna chain off and go into the nested path of the params, of the value of the params, of the attributes that we actually have to assert. So this is something similar to the REST, or to the chained values, which we usually have when we are trying to access some object. Probably the only difference here is that it is stored in the square brackets array-ish type because of the syntax. We cannot do it any other way. So we're gonna use that to go to the add result tag, which is basically gonna look like this. So this is like a Postman representation of the same stuff. So we're gonna have to get these the value from the add result tags. And yeah, we are returning the number. We change the type, transform the result to number explicitly, just in case it doesn't transform, it is not returned as a number, which I guess may be useful depending on your spec, right? So, but if you got a task to check that the data type right here, you may omit this piece and omit the promise number also. You may return promise any in this case. Yeah, and we're gonna be catching errors in case we have any. So this class, we import this class to our page manager module, and we declare it right here. The only difference being that in all other classes or the page objects, we pass the page property, whereas in the API we're going to be passing the page.request property, because we're using the Playwright's native API request context, which is like a clean context, something like a page context, which doesn't have any artifacts or whatever, so that we can clearly execute our tests from the clean sheet, so to speak. And yeah, we got this setup right here, and then we got our small soap.spec.ts file, where we import our test data. We import the expects and the test, the Mocha keywords embedded into the Playwrights and customized by me a little bit to suit the needs. And yeah, we got our test. So calculator, we pass the page manager here because we're gonna be invoking that, and chaining off to invoke the SOAP example API class, and we're going to invoke the add method, which I have just shown you, and we're going to be passing this addition data right there as the interface because it accepts this type, let's say, which is an interface in our case. And we are, of course, we're going to expect that the result is a sum of that the result returned is a sum or equals to the sum of A and B from our test data. So basically that's how it works. And let me rerun this so that we're completely sure it's all right. Yeah, so we got 57 and 70 this time. These random numbers have been generated and we got our add result 127. Cool. So now let's try and run the same stuff in GitHub via GitHub workflow or GitHub Actions. So I'm gonna pass the suite name right here, APIs, tests, and run the workflow. And let me just get to that and let's wait for a little bit until it finishes the test run. So here is our job. It has spawned this job, and here we got some, preconditions, installations, and whatever. So we're installing the dependencies, then we're going to create the .env file and run the tests. And of course, report the results. Okay, so here are our tests. So basically like a single test. Yeah, so as you can see, the success is right here. The report URL has been generated, but there's actually nothing to look at because we've just ran the API test, so there's gonna be like empty pages on the screenshots and whatnot. Here is like the console logs as it always is with the API. So we got like the A and B randomly generated numbers, and we got the result like 11 and 22 equals like 11 plus 22 equals 33, so it passes. And here is our Slack report with a message. So it's got a link to the GitHub workflow logs. This is the job for the debug purposes, and we got the report as well. Here's our report for this specific test suite. Since it was successful, we do not store any artifacts. So yeah, this was pretty damn quick demo, right? Thank you for watching this, and feel free to use that on your projects. If your projects have somewhat of this legacy API style, which is the SOAP one, I was a bit surprised, but to some extent I was surprised, but to another extent I was not surprised that there's actually like lots of projects still using the SOAP approach to their APIs. And probably because those were written a long time ago, and as it always is with with more like older projects, there's usually no capacity, or how do you call it, bandwidth for rewriting the whole architecture from scratch. And I cannot blame them for that, because those projects are usually pretty damn large and pretty damn old, or should I say even ancient, right? This is like, no pun intended, this is like just obvious stating of the stating the obvious things. So thanks for watching, and feel free to use that, don't abuse that. Peace.